Where do you want me to start? What do you want me to tell you?
Tell me about him. Who is he? What's he? You know,
I ain't gonna tell you too
I
much,
know he
but
played basketball.
He does play basketball. Him and Dad actually have a lot of similarities. He used to play for the Kings like years ago. So
hold on, wait, stop the press. He used to play for the Kings.
Yes.
Shannon, you lying to me? You kept this close to your chest like I've never seen, Benna.
Because it wasn't for everybody, and it's not.
I'm not everybody. I'm your mom. You got to understand, Benna. This is a lot for me to take in because it's like so amazing. And
would you have rathered that I came to you and said, Mom,
Where do you want me to start? What do you want me to tell you? Tell me about him. Who is he? What's he? You know I ain't going to tell you too much. I know he played basketball. He does play basketball. Basketball, him and Dad actually have a lot of similarities. He used to play for the Kings like years ago. So hold on. Wait, stop the press. He used to play for the Kings, Shannon. You lying to me? This you kept close to your chest. Like I've never seen Ben because it wasn't for everybody. And it's not, I'm not everybody. I'm your mom. You got to understand, Bennett. This is a lot for me to take in. Because it's like so amazing, and would you have rather that I came to you and said, Mom, Jackie and Doug Christie have been the epitome of relationship goals for years, every year, as if on cue, a power couple in the world of basketball and reality TV. Renew their vows demonstrating that their love is still as strong as ever. Jackie, the outspoken.
lucky y'all been sitting here entertaining.
do you hear yourself?
Stop.
Look how you look at them.
And occasionally controversial wife. One ever backs down from telling people that their bond is unbreakable, and Douth, retired NBA player, renowned for his unwavering loyalty. However, something doesn't quite add up behind the picture-perfect moments, because it takes more than just love to maintain this kind of image. It takes control. Sitting here entertaining. Do you hear yourself? Stop. Look how you look as a mother. Furthermore, their daughter Chantel Christie will tell you that Jackie had perfected control over years. Chantel grew up witnessing her parents' public persona. She witnessed the media appearances, the vow renewals, and the extravagant demonstrations of devotion. On the surface, it appeared to be the kind of love story that people fantasize about. But now that Chantel is speaking up, her reality is very different from the fairy tale that has been told to us. Some saw Jackie and Doug's marriage as a couple's goal, others saw it as a warning sign, because while love is one thing, what Jackie and Doug had appeared to be more like control. Know when you sitting down with Jackie Christie and you start calling names and getting disrespectful, the same energy you give you going to receive. I was angry. I learned from my not only did Jackie adore Dog, but she also saw him at every gathering, appearance, and conversation she was in. That exact spot. Dog's loyalty was insufficient. He needed to always be observably loyal. Fans had to believe it, and cameras had to see it. Because of this, he was more than just her spouse. He was living evidence of their unique, powerful, and unbreakable love. It's no secret that Jackie had rules and Doug.
No, when you sitting down with Jackie Christie and you start calling names and getting disrespectful, the same energy you give, you gonna receive. I was angry. I learned from my fucking mistakes.
Complied with them. No solo outings, no female fans getting too close, and no circumstances that even remotely suggested a scandal. Jackie would be in the stands at a game or in the room, and he had conducted a interview. She even experienced these circumstances as a child. Chantel had no option but to comply. However, even the best performances have a limit. She was supposed to be as polished as her parents' marriage, Jackie and Chantel. Since she was their daughter, she was consistently polite, encouraging, and speaking the correct words. She portrayed herself as the ideal Christie daughter in public, but behind the scenes, pressure was oppressive. Jackie's dominance over Chantel was not limited to Dohai Jackie. I need to ask these women why all had a ponderosa together. You went and had your rendezvous, probably drunk some wine, giggling and laughing and talking all your little stuff. Made up for a long time, she did exactly what was expected of her because she had to conform to the family image, which meant there was no room for error or deviance. However, as she grew older, she began acting in ways that weren't consistent with her mother's intentions. Her first indications of rebellion were subdued career decisions that weren't influenced by Jackie. Initially, choices that demonstrated her desire to forge her own identity, rather than merely be the daughter of Jackie and Doug. Little the gap between them began to widen. The tension persisted, even though it wasn't loud at first. Everything in the world that Jackie and Doug had created had to be flawless. However, Chantel was beginning to realize that perfection wasn't real, and the moment she stopped complying, it was hard to ignore the flaws in the Christie family's reputation. Then, even though Chantel was only speaking in fragments, the internet began to take notice. It began with a mysterious Instagram caption here, and a tweet that was like there, nothing spectacular, but enough to get people thinking, did Chantel intend to say something, but didn't say it after years of following the Christie family fans began to piece things together after realizing that her posts appeared to allude to more serious difficulty. She conveyed messages about establishing boundaries, choosing oneself, and leaving toxic environments. It initially appeared to be standard self-improvement rhetoric that anyone could identify with. Then, however, some of her posts began to seem a bit too specific. At times, she would talk about having to overcome expectations that had been placed on her since childhood, about feeling ignored, and about controlling parents. The most telling sign was that she had stopped sharing pictures of her family on social media. Chantel had been a part of Christie brand public appearance, heartfelt birthday wishes for her parents, and encouraging messages for years. She was good at her job. However, the references to her family began to fade. She stopped posting posts that prioritized her family and sending Jackie heartfelt Mother's Day greetings. When she did discuss her family, the tone had changed. Fans quickly realized some assumed she was disparaging her mother, while others she was hinting at something more significant. In any case, it was obvious that something wasn't right, and then everything made sense until the unexpected moment. Fans weren't prepared for Chantel's decision to speak the truth. When she finally sat down for an interview, she spoke up. For the first time, she talked about what it was like to grow up under Jackie's authority, how she wasn't just expected to love her parents, and how every action she took had to fit the family's image, but to demonstrate that love in a way that enhanced their brand. If she ever deviated from that, the repercussions were swift. She had to repress her emotions for years in order to preserve the Christie name, but she was no longer doing so. The fact that her relationship with Doug had also suffered was among the most devastating admissions. Although as a devoted father, Chantel acknowledged that he frequently had little time to provide her with genuine support because of his devotion to Jackie. Even when Jackie's rules didn't make sense, he followed them, which made Chantel feel alone, and as though she hadn't true family support. Once admirers of Jackie and Doug's marriage began to have a different perspective on it. People showered Chantel with support, praising her for speaking up. Others criticized Jackie, saying she was controlling and manipulative with both her own daughter and Doug. There was no turning back now that Chantel had spoken, and the rifts in the Christie family's flawless facade were more than just the hearsay. Doug had been the quiet pillar of the Christie family brand for years. How let Jackie take the initiative, never publicly questioned her authority, and kept his personal life out of the spotlight. However, that composed exterior broke when Chantel's revelations began to garner media attention. His response initially appeared measured. In a brief statement, he dismissed the allegations as miscommunications and private family matters, but sources said he was incensed. Behind the scenes, he felt deceived. Not just angry. Loyalty had always been cornerstone of Doug's marriage and family. He had devoted his life to upholding the reputation he and Jackie had created, supporting her at all times in public. Now that his own daughter was threatening to destroy everything, was loyalty the only factor at play, or was there more going on here? Because Doug made a mistake when he finally spoke up in an uncensored moment. Doug became enraged when he had to respond to a fan's comment regarding Chantel during a live stream. His statement that caused a stir on the internet was, "People don't understand the sacrifices you make for your family, the things you give up to keep things together." What precisely had Doug given up? Had he been paying for himself to comply with Jackie's rules? Did he never have the freedom to disclose the secret aspect of their marriage? His remarks were immediately analyzed by fans, many of whom conjectured that Jackie had had as much influence over Doug as Chantel had. Some drew attention to the fact that Heist's entire post-mock career had focused on upholding Jackie's desired ideal of the ideal husband. However, was Doug expressing frustration, or was this his way of acknowledging that he wasn't as content as he always appeared to be? In any case, it was evident that the Christie family drama had reached an irreversible point. Now that this bombshell has been made public, the true question is what comes next. Chantel has already revealed significant flaws in the family's flawless facade, but will she go any further, or is this only the beginning? She may not have finished speaking. According to some sources, given the overwhelming amount of fan support, she might feel more comfortable talking about her background, her odd bond with Doug, and the extent of Jackie's control. In addition, how will Jackie respond to this? Will Jackie Christie attempt to defend herself now that her daughter has publicly challenged her? She has spent years meticulously constructing her public persona. She thrives on controlling, influencing the narrative. Will she reject Chantel's assertions as untrue, or will she try to take back the narrative by posing as the victim who was misinterpreted? And Doug comes next. His response has been surprising thus far, but will he finally speak up if he has more to hide? Since there is typically fire where there is smoke, just think of what else might be lurking beneath. The surface, if one secret is enough to rock the Christie family's foundation, the ideal family image has already been shattered by Chantel's revelations. But this may only be the start. Jackie has been in charge of the story for years, but she is now dealing with a problem that she cannot ignore. Will she answer? Will Chantel reveal even more shocking information? And will Doug finally tell the truth? We're keeping a careful eye on things, and you don't want to miss what comes next. For the most recent updates, be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Spoken an occasionally controversial wife, one never backs down from telling people that their bond is unbreakable, and Doug's retired NBA player, renowned for his unwavering loyalty. However, something doesn't quite add up behind the picture-perfect moments, because it takes more than just love to maintain this kind of image. It takes control. Sitting here entertaining, do you hear yourself? Stop. Look how you look as a mother. Furthermore, their daughter Chantel Christie will tell you that Jackie had perfected control over years. Chantel grew up witnessing her parents' public persona. She witnessed the media appearances, the vow renewals, and the extravagant demonstrations of devotion on the surface.